Charlie here with my good friend Cal, and we are in Austin, Texas. And this setup is Cal's, so I'm trying out the new mic, and hopefully the quality is really good. And yeah, I'm super blessed to be in this space. And today we're actually talking about raw authenticity, communication, honesty, vulnerability. And this is a topic that actually speaks to me at an extremely deep level, and it's probably one of the deepest spiritual practices I've found, and it's possibly the greatest medicine that I've experienced, is when I am present, when I'm raw and authentic. And luckily enough, Cal has, I'm not sure if I could say trained in this, or he's just really immersed.
I would say trained. Yeah, I would say trained.
Trained?
Yeah, for sure.
So Cal's, he's dived deep into this. He's actually gone to multiple retreats where he's immersed himself in this, and he continually practices it. So I'd love to say, I would love to ask you, Cal, like, what is raw authenticity, raw communication to you, and how has that changed? How has it changed you as a human being?
Yeah. So I think raw authenticity is being yourself. Like truly yourself. And I think a lot of it, there's two factors. So I think that to me, honesty is being honest in the way that you speak to other humans, and the way that you communicate and interact with other humans, which is rare, super affecting when you do it with other people. I think the most important part, probably about 80% of it, is being honest with yourself. So speaking to yourself. And we have, I think, something called like the inner voice, which is within all of us. And I think that it's always speaking to us. I just think that commonly in society, from a very young age, we're taught, and everyone just suppresses the inner voice. So everyone's within these groups, and they have these thoughts of like, I don't really like doing this. I'm not sure if I feel comfortable with what we just did or the way that I was treating that person. But we're always just like pushing that inner voice aside. So to me, authenticity is acknowledging the inner voice and having the courage and strength to act on it and to be authentic. I think that what happens when we do that is we get a huge boost to our self-esteem because we like ourselves more. We have more respect for ourselves because we are ourselves. So it's a hugely compounding thing. I think also we become much more magnetic socially, and just we have a lot more social strength as far as being able to communicate with people. And also we attract much higher quality people because they can see that there's nothing hidden, and they feel a lot more comfortable and trusting, and relationships can go a lot deeper, a lot quicker when we are that way.
Boom. Yeah, it's very interesting to be in Cal's presence, because I can tell that it's something that he's been practicing, and I'm actually learning a lot via being in his presence, and it's an interesting experience. Actually, it's unique. So yeah, that's beautiful. And tell us a little bit about the retreats, and maybe an example of, okay, we've talked about raw authenticity, communication. Like, give me an example of what that could actually look like in the real world, or on those retreats. Some examples, or if anything comes to mind.
Yeah. So I worked for a company for a period of time where they were running radical honesty retreats or raw honesty retreats, and it was a bunch of strangers, and it was amazing. But everyone would basically share what they've never shared before, so what they're least likely to share. But also in the interactions that we would have, we would be completely authentic. So if we felt resentments towards someone or appreciation for someone, we'd share that, and in a more extreme sense than you would do on a day-to-day basis. And it was, completely transforming. So for example, like, I think there's so much stuff that we hold in within ourselves and suppress. So the craziest thing that I witnessed over and over again was someone sitting down and sharing to a group of strangers really deep stuff that they have been extremely shameful of for their entire lives, and that is causing extreme stress because they are unaccepting of it, and no one knows, and it's a secret, and it's like wreaking havoc in their lives even if they're not aware of it. So I witnessed 5-minute life transformations from people sharing either bad things that they've done or that have happened to them, or been just crazy stuff, like a lot of sexual like molestation of themselves, like they themselves. It's super common amongst men and women, which surprised me because fortunately in life I didn't have that happen to me as a child, but a lot of people have. So just that's a good example. But a lot of things like that where by sharing it for the first time, it's just so crazy what happens when we speak that way to other people, when we share.
Absolutely. And as I said at the start, like, it's my greatest medicine, I feel, because when I've been in those situations like you speak of, it's probably the moments that I feel most alive, that I feel most connected. But it's the scariest the scariest situations to go to.
Yeah.
It really is, because you're unsure of how the person's going to react. If you speak your truth, you don't know how it's going to land. And that's why I feel like for me, sometimes I will hold back certain things to protect, I believe, to protect the other person, but actually, it's creating a fake reality or a false reality, and we're not living our powerful selves. So it's beautiful to be able to train in those situations where the container is held and set, and then slowly go out into the real world and try it on and see the reaction, and then maybe go back into another one of those settings and retrain and get tapped in, because you did multiple of these. So I'm sure you've experienced that sense of going out, trying it, coming back.
Yeah, I'll leave a good note on this. So I'm 25 now. So when I was 19, I did my first retreat, and I didn't even know. It was in Costa Rica, and I didn't even know that we were going to even do radical honesty. I thought it was more about like getting out in nature and just I don't know, like eating fruit and having fun. And so I showed up, and it was a week. It was 7 days. It was a long one, and I just got rocked in a really good way. And I actually went with my ex-girlfriend. We were teenage relationship, and it was an amazing relationship. But it was towards the end of it, and it was just it was so crazy because, so I was in college, I was a sophomore in college, and I had come from a place where, it's just like no one's themselves. Everyone's putting on an act to be liked by other people by what they think is cool. That's huge for teenagers in college, is like being perceived by others in a positive light and doing anything to do that. For me, I didn't put on so much. I did put on an act in certain ways, but I just never, ever experienced that. I got rocked, in a very good way. And I think it was 3.5 years later that I then did my second retreat. So in that interim, it was a constant practice of implementing that in my life. So speaking the truth to others, sharing vulnerabilities, just becoming more authentic. And it was very helpful for a young college male, where I could finally acknowledge, I didn't like going out. I don't like the atmosphere of bars, clubs. I don't like the atmosphere of when people are getting wasted and doing drugs. I didn't ever feel socially comfortable or interested in those environments, yet I went into them because that was the cool thing to do. If you're cool in this college town, it was you had to go out, you had to get drunk at these dark, bars and interact in these ways that just didn't feel, I had no attraction to it, but I was doing it because of that. So it allowed me to slowly start to recognize that and slowly start to be okay being myself. And funny enough, I got better and better and better socially the moment I did that, because when you're yourself, people meet you and they see you and they see that there's no disconnect, and it's super, super impactful, and it invites them to be themselves as well. So it's I think for anyone that maybe wants to have more friends or have relationships or have cooler friends or just to be more engaged socially, I highly recommend being yourself.
Cal's on point. Yeah. So I guess we've sort of talked around the subject, we've talked about it, we've talked around it, but I guess what we haven't done is experience it.
Yeah.
So I think it's a beautiful opportunity because we're both spiritual by nature. We believe in something, larger than ourselves. We experience something larger than ourselves, and we're both here to improve ourselves, develop ourselves, and be more authentic.
Yeah. With
each other, with the world, and with ourselves. As you said, it's extremely important to be authentic with ourselves. So we haven't talked too much about this, but I just have a suggestion. So we're literally doing this on the spot. We're not sure what's going to happen, but how about let's jump into an exercise where we are as honest with each other, because by you giving me your raw, authentic honesty is a gift to me. Because you're giving me your presence, you're giving me your uninhibited thoughts, feelings. And from me receiving that, for example, I know that that's not the truth. This is your truth. This is your truth, the way that you perceive me. Now, this is a partial truth of the whole truth. But I'm willing to receive your truth. And by me receiving that fully, it can clear the space. It can clear anything that's blocking. And this is a beautiful exercise to do with partners, relationships, family members, because I feel like we all go on with our life and we don't actually say things. We left things unsaid, which can bring things into the space. So, how about we do something as simple as strengths and weaknesses? So, authentically sharing what are maybe we start with weaknesses. So, I can go first, you can go first, and we deliver what I deliver what I believe is a weakness of yours, or weaknesses. And may I suggest that when we're receiving, you probably already know this, but when we're receiving, to fully feel what's going on inside the body. Because someone might touch on a wound that we try and hide. I might have a wound that I try and hide from others. You might touch on it, but by me observing the sensations in my body, deeply being present, objectively, I actually give the opportunity for that wound to heal. And then we can finish off with strengths. I feel I want to acknowledge you for as a human being, for example. Would you like to go first or second?
I'll let you go first to set the space, which I think is cool. I think it's important to, if you want to do this with someone, to suggest it, and if they're okay and comfortable doing it, I think it's important to go first, to kind of set the tone, or to set the pace and to show people how to do this. If you have someone that you've never been honest with before, like your brother or something like that, or your roommate, it's important, I think, to go first and to start small if it's someone who's never been, who maybe can't be honest, but to start small, but to set the tone first. And what's the percentage at?
Do I have to hit it?
Okay.
There's no...
Alright. Yeah, we'll cut this out, but anyways,
we'll leave it in.
We'll leave it in. The battery's low. The battery's low on the camera, so we're just checking.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And before I get into this, there's two parts of this. There's actually giving, and then there's receiving. So you'll find that it actually might be harder for you to share uninhibited truths, but it also might be harder for you to receive. There's two parts of this that's both equally transformational. To hear someone's total view of you, but then also to be able to share authentically. So there's two parts. So it's a fantastic, beautiful sort of experiment and experience that we're about to dive into. So Cal, here we are. Let's start with some weaknesses, or a weakness, whatever sort of comes into the space, whatever I feel. I feel a potential weakness of yours, and this is from my truth, is it's hard to distinguish if it's a weakness or not, but something that I would like to highlight for you is your intellect and your mind and your mental movements could be, you could be putting more energy into your mind than is necessary. I think you are, at the same time, you can be very present, you can be very in your body, but I think a lot of the time you can be in your thoughts, and you can potentially probably overthink situations or overthink your direction in life, which could cause unnecessary confusion, unnecessary stress at times. That would be one that is in the space that I feel. Another one would be, and I actually highlighted this to you yesterday, but it's a unique thing, so it's a unique thing that you do. But in conversation, you will actually change topic extremely fast, and it's something that it's actually it's a beautiful thing for me to experience, because it actually brings up stuff in me. So it's like you're a catalyst for change in conversation for me, but at times it can be challenging. So what you do, just so that people, what I experience you do, is we'll be talking about a subject, and it will be back and forth, and it could be, let's just say, about health, talking about health, and then I start sharing about something, but halfway through my share, you will change subjects. And at times, I feel like there's a balance. I feel like that can be, you can be tapping into your truth, because it's like, cool, like my truth is to speak about the plant outside. But at the same time, what I experience is not being fully received. So I feel like there's a balance of and I would love to know the intention, or like why that happens. And it could be coming from the most pure, raw, authentic place, because it's just like you're in your world and you're just like, boom. But the way I experience it at times is not being fully received. And at times it could be like by you doing that, you take the power in the conversation, because you're the boss, and you go, boom, we're over there, and then boom, we're over there, and boom, we're over there. So in a way, it can be charismatic, but I think for people who are sensitive, it can be slightly destructive at times if overdone. So it's a complex thing there, but I wanted to bring that up. Would you like to share anything about that, or should we just clear that's what I wanted to share, and you fully received that?
Yeah, I think I can keep going. You can keep
Cool.
going. Yeah.
Cool. I'll drop in for about 5 or 10 more seconds, but that might maybe all that's in the space for me. Yeah, that's all that's in the field and in the space that I wanted to share, and that came up. So I want to say thank you for receiving my communication.
Yeah.
Cool.
Should I do the weakness now? Or,
Yeah.
And then we'll do strength.
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. So, yeah, for me, the weakness I would say would be, so little break there. Camera went out. So I do think it's funny, but I do think there's a lot of value actually in doing this, even though it can kind of feel a little dark sometimes to be like, to indulge our egos and be like, this is where you're weak. But by doing this, I think it allows us to let go, because that's always going to be there. So by showing that and taking it out, we're looking at it, and then we can put it away, and it's gone. Usually, I mean, we can really release a lot, I think, by doing this. By saying, also, if you're in a longer relationship and you have a lot of resentments, it's sharing them with that other person. it feels kind of dark to be like, I resent you for this, I resent you for that. Because I do think there's a way to let go of it internally, for sure. I think, but the act of speaking it is a way of letting go of it, and it can be very helpful. But so it's important to kind of distinguish that we're not like indulging in it, we're acknowledging the pettiness of it, kind of, and like letting go. So I would say for a weakness I would describe was you seem more serious than I imagined. Then I don't know if it's just that you're here traveling, you're here for a short amount of time, and you're like not settled. But yeah, you seem more serious in the way that you act than I would have expected, and maybe from Skype conversations we've had, you seem more, just more serious and more like sometimes I'll ask you a question and that's an understandable question, and then you like won't answer, or will pause for a long time, and then like ask for clarification, and it just seems more serious. It seems pretty serious. And that would be the weakness, I would say. And then like lead that, but it kind of like leads into like, I think like, yeah, the greatest weaknesses are the greatest strengths. Like it is cool how you relaxed you are back into yourself, like in social conversation, how it seems like you're very like within yourself. And you're very authentic. So it may just be how authentically you are, but I also wondered, are you always serious like this, or is this a certain state that you're in based on the fact that you're like traveling and that you're like sleeping on the couch or like we're bouncing around? What would you say about that?
I think I used to be quite serious as a child. So I think it would be an almost safety mechanism in a new environment for me to drop more into myself, I would say. Whereas if I'm in an environment that I've been in for a long time, or I'm with children, or I can be extremely playful. And I do love the playful side of myself. But I see what you mean, and I would say that it's a new environment, and it's just a way for me to stay centered and grounded, because I can be very open and I feel like I can almost lose myself into the environment. So yeah, maybe it's a bit of a protection mechanism at times.
Cool. Yeah, I just noticed I was like surprised by that. I wasn't sure, and I wasn't sure. So sometimes it's crazy because I think we hold a lot in, and we're like not sure about something.
For sure.
It's a lot easier to ask or just say, if we're unsure about something, to say, hey, I'm unsure about this. Or I have this imagination, or this is my perception.
Awesome. On to the strengths. So the strengths, or simply acknowledgements of who you are as a human being, what you're about, and if there's anything in the space that I want to bring up or bring to your attention that you may or may not know. So I really respect your commitment to authenticity, your commitment to who you are, and your ability to project that into the world and shine that into the world. Maybe I was thinking that you would actually be more, not as much like that, but I actually see that you've got a lot of depth inside you, and you're quite unaffected by your external environment, less than I would assume, because I would think that I would have thought that you're very open, very sensitive, cautious, but actually what I've experienced of you is quite grounded, and you know what you want, and you're willing to ask for it, or you're willing to do it, or you're willing to take action. And I feel like that's a massive quality to have, because it sort of links into this video. You know, you're willing to be yourself, and you're not so much looking for the approval of others. which I feel like is a huge gift because then people who are around you can feel that and it gives them the opportunity to be themselves. Whereas if you were trying to please others, then they would probably try to please you and it would be this sort of somewhat fake environment. But it feels like you have a sword of truth and you cut through the environment by just living your authentic way and not questioning that. I don't feel like you question the way you live. Do you? I don't feel like that, but
Yeah, I do question the way I live. However, well, I'll question things in a good way to be like, is this how I want to be? However, I think that's actually something I'm stepping into now really deeply that I want to in the next year or so is to release all self-judgment. Release all self-judgment and to like stop thinking about. Actually, I've been letting go of even the idea of a personality and of myself and of Cal. I think we build like this like web of story and this idea of ourselves, and I've been like really working on like completely letting go of that. And it's like letting go of this idea of a person, and it's very freeing. And it's nice to get out of myself. Really like and just to be up, to not think and just to do, to feel, to act. Like.
And the other thing I just want to acknowledge you for is your spiritual power. It's actually, I can feel it, and it's deeply just an anchor in spirit, whatever that is for you and your experience, but you're really anchored in that, and you're courageous to go to those places, and then also project that out into the world, once again, without having others worrying about what others think. I really feel that powerfully from you. You're very spiritually connected and you're unwilling to change or dim your light for others, which is a huge quality.
Thank you. That was good to hear. Oh, that was really good to hear. Yeah, I would say for a lot of them would be probably pretty similar, but I would say your greatest strength, is your courage and your willingness to be yourself. It seems like I imagine you've just done a lot of inner work for letting go of how like your girlfriend, your mom, your dad, your brother, your family, your environment wants you to be, and it seems like you're very much within yourself, authentically. Like I have no question of like who you are as far as like meeting on like you're very much like yourself, which is super rare. You're super relaxed. I think it's a huge gift. I think that I imagine that you're authentic. Like you've lied down at multiple points to like do body scans and to check in with yourself, and that's really cool. I think it's always very impactful to be around someone who is okay being themselves. It's always just like really refreshing, and it's also self-affirming to me to be able to be myself as well. Like, if you're in a group of people where he's like staying here, so if he can not speak and maybe just do what he feels like doing, that's huge. I think it's huge. I think another gift of yours would be how it seems like you're very motivated with your career or with what you do in the world. I think that's very powerful as far as creating this job for yourself, creating this income for yourself, like creating a lifestyle for yourself. You're very engaged in it, which is really good. To be super engaged and you're committed, and it seems like you've let go of things that are inhibiting you. So you're like willing to drop anything that's inhibiting you from achieving that, which is really good. I think also you are a super good listener, good eye contact, very engaging. Very good at speaking like properly, like thinking and like making sure that what you're saying is proper and real. Also, it's just good that anytime you have someone who's travels and is cool traveling and being in a foreign environment, and it's just chill. Like, just flew into America like a week ago, a couple weeks ago, and just got here to Austin, going to Boston, just kind of cruising and cool, just like very much within yourself while you're doing that. Like you've got your bag, you've got a couple things. It's good. Yeah, I think that's good. That feels good.
Awesome. Thanks, brother.
Yeah.
Just so you guys are aware, Cal has his own YouTube channel. As you can see by the quality of this video, he's on point with his videos, and he's delivering some really amazing truths and wisdom. And he's not doing it to receive anything. He's just actually just giving at the moment, and he's just giving it whatever truths he's coming to, he's sharing, and it's super authentic. As this video is, as you can probably see from this man, he's really here just to live an authentic life and share that with the world. So I'll link his YouTube channel below. Jump across and check him out and ride the wave with Cal, my boy.
Yeah. Peace, guys.
What about us?